What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P. the Bluff Guy. Hey! And we are back with another One Piece reaction. And today we will be reacting to Mr. Morj. And he will be telling us why the Seraphim are going to be stronger than their original counterparts. Now, before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. Also, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the theory. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I miss? What about Morj? What did he get right? What did he get wrong? What did he miss? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you want to get at me directly, well, for that, make sure you follow me on Twitch as well, so you could catch me live and you can engage with me in real time. And if you want to get at me directly, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and join the Discord. That's going to be the best place to get at me because that's where I'm usually the most active. You can also send me content to react to there. And if you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you are a member of the Discord. All of these, including the link to the video we are reacting to today, all of these will be in the description box down below. All right, now let's get it. Mr. Morj is gonna tell us why the Seraphim will be stronger than their OG counterparts, and I think that's pretty much heavily been implied, right? Like I think, like as of now, I don't think they're stronger, but I think they will be stronger. Like that's kind of what they were created for. They were created to be the strongest beings in history on a One Piece planet, right? So just with that, right? Just the fact that they were created to be that just entails that they are created to be stronger than their original counterparts. Take somebody like Cell from Dragon Ball Z, right? Cell was created from he's kind of like a clone. Like he was created from the cells of all the strong characters in DBZ up to that point, right? The Freezers, the Gokus, the Vegetas, the Gohans. Well, maybe I would include Gohan at that time, but I think he might have had Gohan's cells as well. Frieza, Piccolo, all these different characters that were powerhouses at that specific time in the DBZ timeline, right? And that's what Cell was created from, all these different cells. And he was supposed to be superior to the people that, the cells he pretty much took from, or his creator took from. So I get that kind of from the Seraphim, right? Like they were not only were there's not only are they clones from the Shichibukai, they also have Lunarian biology or Lunarian DNA intertwined into their biology. You know what I mean? So you include somebody like Mihawk with Lunarian biology, you know what I'm saying? I would think that clone would have the potential to be superior to the original Mihawk. Because not only should he have Mihawk's base strength, right? Or just Mihawk's overall strength, not base, but overall strength. He should also have the strength of Lunarians as well. So you include that, you know what I'm saying? We talking something different, right? Now, that doesn't account for experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, these Seraphim have the DNA and they have the potential of their originals, like the original characters they were cloned from, also including Lunarian DNA, but they don't have that experience, right? They lack that experience. So Seraphim, like Seraphim Mihawk, S Hawk, right? Like as of now, I don't think he's necessarily as strong as Mihawk, or I don't think he's stronger than Mihawk, at least right now. We kind of seen that clash with Zoro and S-Hawk. Zoro seemed like he had control of that. Like S-Hawk was sweating, you know, like he was a little too much for S-Hawk. So as of now, I don't think they're as strong or stronger than their original counterparts, but their potential, you know what I'm saying, when they grow, I do think they will eventually be stronger than their counterparts. The question is, would they be able to beat their counterparts after surpassing their counterparts, right? I would say it depends, right? Because let's take S-Hawk when he is finally at the level of Mihawk and possibly stronger than Mihawk. Mihawk has a lot of experience under his umbrella, right? He has a lot of experience. So that experience is going to give him an edge because he's going to know how to deal with all types of situations where S-Hawk at that point, like if he didn't gain the amount of experience that Mihawk has gotten, right, he might be at a disadvantage. Like, yes, he's stronger, but Mihawk's way more skilled still. You know what I'm saying? And Mihawk being the greatest swordsman, I'm pretty sure Mihawk has fought and beaten guys who were stronger than him at that time, right? So Mihawk would probably have the experience of fighting people stronger than him and beating him. So just because S-Hawk is pretty much a clone of Mihawk and has all his skills and all that, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be able to beat Mihawk, especially if the experience isn't there. So, you know, and Mihawk would probably be able to learn S-Hawk's fighting style relatively quick because it will probably be like Mihawk. So Mihawk could sit there and be like, well, I know how to combat this style because it's my style, right? So, and I know the weaknesses of my style. You know what I mean? So Mihawk's experience might help him be able to combat whatever it is that S-Hawk brings to the table. You know what I mean? And same for the other Seraphim with their OG counterparts. But yeah, so I do think the Seraphim will eventually be stronger than their original counterparts. It's just, will they be able to beat their original counterparts? You know, they may in the beginning, or they may not in the beginning. You know, even after surpassing them, they may not. But if it depends on how their growth is, right? Like if they continue, if like let's say S-Hawk surpasses Mihawk, and then he continues to grow, it might get to a point where it doesn't matter Mihawk's experience. S-Hawk will still beat Mihawk because he's just that vastly stronger because of his potential to continue to grow, and where Mihawk might be more capped out. You know what I'm saying? Mihawk might be more capped out, but the Seraphim's potential might be limitless. It could be limitless, or it could at least be it could be far further than Mihawk's ceiling. You know what I mean? It could be like beyond Mihawk's ceiling. So if that's the case, it could get to the point where it doesn't matter how much experience Mihawk has that gives him the advantage. S-Hawk is just that much faster, that much stronger, that much more durable. You know, that much the stamina might be beyond, and stuff like that. It matters. It matters in the fight. Stuff like that matters in the fight. But all right, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get into this video. Again, this is from Mr. Morj, and the title is Why the Seraphim Will Soon Be Stronger Than the Original. So let's go. And y'all make sure y'all go show Mr. Morj some love and go like the video.
Were first introduced, they made a huge impact. Just seeing a Mihawk clone be able to give a Yonko a scare, had readers excited over what a threat the full roster of 7 Seraphim could be in the final war. Now, since then, we've seen some of their limits. The Straw Hat crew was able to handle a Jinbei Seraphim just fine, and Zoro was able to give the
I wouldn't say they handled him just fine. It was a little tricky. You know what I'm saying? They was having a little trouble, and it was a group of Straw Hats against one Seraphim, and I'm not saying they was like it was like high diff, but it wasn't easy by any means. Like in the one-on-one fight with that Seraphim and any of the Straw Hats, anybody less than, I would say, maybe Jinbei would have like a super tough time. Like anybody less than Jinbei and Sanji would have a super hard time against them Seraphim. And even Jinbei and Sanji, they would have to at least put some attention onto those Seraphim, because it's Zoro as well. Zoro and Luffy would also have to give those Seraphim a good amount of attention, at least mid-diff, at least. I don't think any of the Straw Hats are low diffing a Seraphim in a 1v1. Maybe Gear 5 Luffy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe Gear 5 Luffy is the only, Straw Hat that would do that. But I don't think Sanji is low diffing a Seraphim. I don't even know if it'd be mid diff. Maybe a mid diff. Maybe mid to high diff for Sanji and Jinbei. Same with Zoro. Zoro I'll probably get more of a mid diff though. You know what I mean?
the Mihawk Seraphim a bit of a scare himself. Clearly at this moment in time, the Seraphim can be handled. But the key here is that these Seraphim are still at their absolute most basic stage of development. They are still children, far from complete maturation. So what about the claim Vegapunk made, that these—
Bro, yeah, that is scary, bro. Like, we seen what the Seraphim could do, and they're only children. They're only children. That's not like a positive. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, especially if the world government does get these Seraphim. World government's gonna have a good, and by the time the world government actually need to use the Seraphim might actually be closer to their prime, or if not in their prime. Like, I don't know how fast these Seraphim mature, right? But if, let's say, after this arc, after this arc is finished, the next time we see them, like, let's say the world government takes them and this arc finishes, and we have Elbaf arc, and then we have this World War arc, right? And then that's when they bring the Seraphim back, and they're a lot older at that point. Like, they matured, they hit that puberty at that point. Bruh, that's going to be scary.
These artificial creations will eventually become the most powerful beings on the sea. Is that hyperbole? I don't think so. As absurd as it may seem right now, looking at how Oda has set up the Seraphim so far and what the final war is shaping up to be, their very creation in the story may have been to fulfill a very specific purpose that I will elaborate on in this video. A purpose that would definitely warrant them becoming among the absolute most powerful characters in existence, period, by the end game. To the point that I would go so far as to say that a couple of the Seraphim may be even stronger than admirals by the end of the story, with the Mihawk Seraphim potentially even surpassing his original. Seems
I mean, I think that is very well possible. You know what I'm saying? That is very well possible that S-Hawk is going to be... S-Hawk might be a freaking beast, bro. Like, come on. S-Hawk might, Zoro might be fighting S-Hawk by the end of the series, but bro, S-Hawk might be Yonko level I'm just saying. S-Hawk might end up being Yonko level after maturing. Come on, bro. Freaking S-Hawk out this mug. Man, if I had a son, he would be S Hawk, man. Like, I'll be me Hawk. My son would be S Hawk. You know what I'm saying? Or if I had a daughter, it'd be like S Hawkalina or something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely crazy? Blasphemous? Well, listen up, because today we're going to be breaking down how the specific role that the Seraphim are set to fill, together with all the specific details we've been given about how and why they were created, point to them becoming absurdly powerful threats, unlike any the Straw Hats have seen so far by the end of the story. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. And make sure to pick up your copy of The Journey of One Piece, a fantastic painting depicting the entire story of One Piece set to a beautiful galactic backdrop by artist Jesse Martin. You can get your copy today by hitting the link in the description below. So to begin with, the single biggest argument for the Seraphim becoming absurdly powerful by the end of the story, perhaps to the point that some of them, such as the Mihawk Seraphim and the Doflamingo Seraphim, may be even stronger than admirals in the endgame, is...
I mean, we haven't seen the Doflamingo Seraphim yet, and I feel as though if they had one in the tuck, it'd be being used right now, right? Like if Vegapunk had one, unless the Doflamingo Seraphim is away right now, right? Because we seen at the beginning of Egghead Island, CP0 were actually bringing S-Bear to the island. So when we first got to the island, S-Bear wasn't on the island. S-Bear was off the island with CP0. So if that's the case, that could also mean that like a Doflamingo Seraphim is just he exists, but he's just not on the island. And it also can imply that possibly a Gecko Moria Seraphim exists, but possibly off the island as well. It's just we haven't seen them yet to really confirm such,
working backwards. At the moment, it seems that the final boss of One Piece is Im. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here. I have plenty of other videos discussing why this is likely the case, but in short, the story of One Piece does seem to be shaped.
I definitely think that's going to be the case. Im might be super powerful. I'm starting to actually believe that the Gorosei are super powerful, right? Because now we're getting their names, right? We got Saturn. Saturn is the name of a planet, and it's also the name of a Roman god. Saturn, I want to say, is Kronos or something, right? So, and one thing we also know is that the ancient weapons are also named after Roman gods that are also named after planets as well, right? Like Pluton, Pluto, or not Neptune, except Poseidon, But Poseidon, Shirahoshi's father, is Neptune, King Neptune planet, also Greek or Roman god. And then we have Uranus, right? The planet Uranus, Also, Uranus is the embodiment of the heavens and the sky and the heavens in Roman/Greek mythology. So now we're getting the names of the Gorosei, and they kind of follow the same pattern as ancient weapons. So to me, that kind of implies that the Gorosei could potentially be ancient weapons or ancient weapon level characters, right? So, and it would make sense if anybody is going to be as strong as an ancient weapon, it would be the top of the top when it comes to the world government hierarchy being the Gorosei, So I would also think that you probably had one of the Gorosei members is like Mars, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, right? And then what about Im? Is Im also going to be like named after a planet, possibly Earth? Possibly, maybe he could be the Earth god that we seen back in Skypiea when we got the god of the rain, the god of the earth, the god of the sun, and the god of the forest, right? So a lot of speculation. We got Luffy being the god of the sun or the sun god. We got maybe Green Bull being the forest god. I don't know who would be God of the Rain. Maybe Dragon, possibly. Dragon being God of the Rain. Eam being God of the Earth. You know, just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, Eam. If Eam is also named after a planet, Eam could potentially be ancient weapon level as well when it comes to power scaling.
Shaping up to be about waging war against the world government in order to overthrow the false gods that rule the world, led by the ultimate evil god that has been ruling for the last 800 years, Im, thereby bringing the dawn of the world. That seems to be the final and most important conflict, Luffy defeating Im. Now, for a long time, many of us assumed that this battle against the world government would primarily involve defeating the Marines. It was only after Im's reveal that many of us have since come around to believing that, okay, Im will probably be the final opponent of that final battle, but besides that, it will mainly be about defeating the Marines. However, One Piece has been going out of its way more and more to tell us that at the end of the day, the Marines and the world government, and really the Marines and the Celestial Dragons, are two independent entities. They are both technically on the same side, with the Marines serving the Celestial Dragons, but these are two distinctly different.
I kind of believe that the Marines, like, I don't think that the Straw Hats are going to be fighting the Admiral, or I don't think the Admirals per se are going to be like final fights for the Straw Hats. Possibly, I honestly kind of see the Marines having some level of civil war. Like I could see there being a civil war in the Marines where you got Marines like Smoker, Garp, Kobe, X Drake. You know, characters who might see the flaw in how the system of the Marines and the world government does things. Like they don't necessarily agree with what they do. Like Smoker was there; he's seen firsthand what the oppression and the problems that come with the world government that the Marines serve, right? So, and how the Marines are used to allow this stuff to happen. Smoker's seen this front hand. And then you got Marines that are super loyal to the world government. You know, they're about enforcing justice, even if it is messed up. They don't care. They're straight loyal. We got like the Kizaru, Akainu to a degree, you know, a couple other Marines that we've seen that had no problem with doing bad stuff to citizens, right? So I could see there being one faction of Marines that are loyal to the world government, and then another faction of Marines that, you know, they question the world government. You know, they're kind of opposing some of the stuff the world government sanctions. So I could see there being a civil war with the Marines, and that possibly playing a role in the end game of the series, where it's like we get like, instead of Akainu fighting Luffy, maybe Akainu fights somebody else. Maybe he fights Sabo. You know, I kind of like the idea of Sabo fighting Akainu. Maybe Kizaru fights another Marine. I don't know. Maybe Kizaru fights Aokiji or something. You know, maybe Aokiji comes back and like, you know what? I'm a member of Sword, and you know, I'm going against the world government as well. And so Kizaru fights him. You know, so many ways we could go. I just don't know if I see like Luffy being a Akainu, fighting Akainu and everything, and Kizaru fighting like Zoro or Sanji or something. I don't know.
Opponents. Oda already made clear that the goal of rebellion is not to destroy the Marines, but to overthrow the Celestial Dragons. We also see outside forces like Orochi making a distinction between the forces of the Marines and the Celestial Dragons as two separate parties. We also see the leaders of both parties butting heads, between Akainu and the Gorosei having clearly very different priorities.
Yeah.
And even recently, Oda...
And that's another thing. I kind of see a possibility that I like Akainu possibly rebelling against the world government, because we seen Akainu, bro. He there's a lot of times where he don't agree with what the world government does, what the Gorosei does. Like, you know, a lot of time they go stepping on his toes, and he, you know, they do stuff without like consulting him first, especially his job being to pretty much monitor the world and stuff. But then you got the world government kind of doing stuff that might like hinder what you do. You know what I'm saying? So he has a lot of problems with what the Gorosei allows, and that could end up coming back to leading Akainu to act against the world government as well.
Oda seems to be going out of his way to remind us with clear cuts between flags that the world government ships and the marine ships are their own independent parties. Yes, they sail side by side, and yes, the Marines serve the world government and the Celestial Dragons, but the Celestial Dragons ultimately are a group of antagonists independent of the Marines. So while the Marines will obviously be heavily involved in the final battle, defeating the Marines is not defeating the world government, meaning that while Akainu and the Admirals may be defeated first, the finale of the conflict will not take place at Marine Ford, but will likely be centered around defeating the leader of the Celestial Dragons himself, who resides in Morjua. So if that assumption is correct, that Im comes last, that taking down God is the conclusion to the story, then would God stand alone at the end of this as the final villain? Because think about it, the Marines aren't exactly Im's loyal subordinates. Akainu already has problems with just the Gorosei's decision-making alone. Who knows how easily, if at all, Akainu will just step in line if he learns about the existence of some evil emperor that's been giving him orders from above all along. The Marines technically obey the Celestial Dragons for now, but unlike Enel and his priests, or Kaido and his calamities, or Doflamingo and his family, etc., etc., unlike all these past One Piece villains who had powerful, loyal subordinates directly under their control, Im at the end of the story doesn't seem to have some final line of forces that are truly his. As I said, the Marines literally don't even know about his existence, and it's unlikely his existence will go over well with them, since the world.
And I kind of like where Morj is going with this, because I agree, right? Like, I think if the world government, if the Marines and the world government split, right? Let's say the Marines have their civil war, their internal strife or whatever, and therefore they can't really focus on, because you'll have some Marines that actually are going against the world government. So you're reducing your forces of Marines that are actually going to fight for the world government, right? So it's going to kind of cancel out. So it's going to leave the world government pretty much by themselves. They're going to have to fend themselves. Like, you're going to have to, the Gorosei are going to have to fight, and they're going to need a fighting force as well. That's why you may have the Seraphim. You know, you get the Seraphim. They can really account for maybe some of the loss in manpower. So yeah,
world government is supposed to be a democracy. The Gorosei might possibly be decently strong, but Oda has never hyped them up or even attempted to portray them as significant combatants, the way that he has done for every single strong One Piece character in the past. And finally, CP0, well, all its strongest members.
I think Oda does that intentionally, so when he does show how strong they are, you know, it's more of a shot, right? You know, because he likes to keep us guessing. Are the Gorosei strong, or are they just weak dip like politicians? I think they're strong. I think the fact when Oda gave us their names, when he gave us the name of the one Gorosei member, Saturn, and to me it just connects too closely to ancient weapons. It just makes me think that the Gorosei may be individually, they could be Yonko level or further or stronger potentially. They could be like we talk about how Pluton can destroy islands. I wouldn't think that it's a stretch to say that the Gorosei, like individually, each member of the Gorosei could destroy an island. I don't think that's a stretch to say. Potentially. We don't know that yet, but potentially. That's why I say like they're ancient weapon level.
Members have been getting slapped around a lot in recent arcs. And so enter the Seraphim. What are the Seraphim? In the Bible, the Seraphim are literally God's angels. Once the Marines fall, and it comes time for the protagonists to take on God himself in the final conflict, why should he stand alone? Does it not seem as though Oda literally created God's angels specifically for this final saga to be the final forces of God? Perfect creations of inhuman power that answer to the celestial dragons above all else. The hierarchy of command for the Seraphim clearly spells out that ultimately the Gorosei will command them. And as the Gorosei are simply mouthpieces for Im, does it not seem as though these angels of death were created to serve God and God alone in the final battle? Essentially, once we are past the other enemies, once we are past Blackbeard and his pirates, once we are past Akainu and the admirals, would we not face the true final villains of the story, God and his angels? The entire purpose of the Seraphim seems to be to give Im his own personal, absolute combat force, when previously he had none. Which is why I don't think Vegapunk was exaggerating here. For the ultimate villain, we are set up to also have to face his subordinates, the ultimate beings. Now, where the major doubts come in for readers are that I assume most of you so far simply don't believe that the Seraphim could ever become so strong that we would be comparing any of them to admirals or beyond. Well, first of all, real quick, I'm not saying all of them will be that strong. The Shichibukai themselves were a very broad range of strength. I'm mainly saying that the strongest of the Seraphim could reach that level. But more importantly, I think firstly reframing the Seraphim's purpose in the story may open you up to the idea that maybe a
I would say S-Hawk is probably gonna be the strongest of all the Seraphim, followed by maybe like S-Bear. Cause I personally like I think Kuma might be one of the strongest Shichibukai. Top three. I will give to Kuma. You know. And that might be like pre cyborg Kuma, you know, when he had like control of himself. Cause bro, his devil fruit, bro, come on now. That is a hacked ass devil fruit.
a Mihawk Seraphim could be a top tier character at the end of the day, or that a Doflamingo Seraphim may be Admiral level or stronger, because initially most of us believed that the Seraphim would simply be an additional force to back up the Marines in the final war to expand on the Marines' existing manpower. But if you reframe that to consider that their true role may in fact be to come after the Marines and to back up Im as his final line of defense, then it suddenly puts into perspective everything we have learned about them, and what Vegapunk has stated about their potential. Suddenly, their potential importance as final opponents side by side with Im makes it make a lot more sense that they might be significantly stronger than we even initially expected. Because while yes, the Seraphim don't seem like the ultimate beings just at this moment, that's because the key is that right now, they are in their absolute infancy. These Seraphim are very literally children compared to what they will one day become. Everything we are seeing them do so far is a small prelude to what they will be capable of in the future. What we have to realize is that these aren't some arbitrary experiments Oda is throwing in. For literally the last 400 chapters since Punk Hazard, we have been building and building to the reveal of the perfect scientific creation in.
Yeah, it is wild how he's been slowly building by giving us little pieces, right? Like ever since what happened? So Oda introduces Caesar, right? Caesar brings he does the sad gas and all that stuff, the smile devil fruits, all these things, like the artificial devil fruits, all these things, you know, and then we learn about Judge, right? Judge he kind of introduced the idea of cloning and all these things, and you know, like yeah. Then we get to Wano, where we're not only introduced to Queen, who, you know, does bioweapons, but we're introduced to King, who is a Lunarian. So Oda's been giving us bits and pieces about these Seraphim. Just bits and pieces, right? Like like the because we know that the Seraphim, they have devil fruit abilities, probably created from artificial devil fruits that we learned that Vegapunk was able to actually master, right? And then we got the cloning. Seraphim are clones. You know, we got the S Hawk. He's a clone of Mihawk. S Snake, clone of Boa. S Bear, Kakuma. Y'all get the point. S Shark, Jinbei. Yeah, so he's been giving us little like breadcrumbs to the creation of the Seraphim through like other scientists in the series, and also King as well, because King is a Lunarian, and these Seraphim have Lunarian biology in them. So yeah, definitely interesting.
In the One Piece world. All those experiments we saw throughout the various arcs featuring the smartest minds of the One Piece world, attempts at gigantification, artificial devil fruits, cloning, lineage factors, all of these ideas that were individually hyped up to have tremendous military potential have finally all been combined into a singular product that is the culmination of all the work that Mads has ever done. That is the Seraphim. If you really look back at
I actually never even thought of it the way that Morj just broke it down, but it makes so much sense that Oda's been giving us. He's been giving us little pieces of what was to come with these Seraphim. You know, when it comes to the other scientific breakthroughs that we've seen since Punk Hazard, right? With Caesar, with Judge, with Queen and King, bruh. I like it, and Morg really just broke it down. He really just broke that down, and it makes so much sense.
how hard Oda has built up the significance of science and has been beating it in over our heads for so long that all of this stuff is leading somewhere important, all of this is going to be really a big deal down the line, well, this is it. It's the Seraphim. They are meant to be insanely important, because we've spent pretty much every single arc in the New World looking at some weaker or failed variation at creating these type of ultimate weapons. All of it leading up to Vegapunk saying, this is it. He's got it. He's made the ultimate weapons, and they are built to answer to him. So really think about it logically for a moment. Why shouldn't the Seraphim eventually become among...
He said something. He said they're built for Eam, right? It just makes me think. Like it really makes me think. When we look at the Seraphim hierarchy of who they answer to, the highest order is the Gorosei, the 5 elders, those specific characters. But I'm thinking, is there a chance that Eam is really on that hierarchy scale as well? That he is higher? You know, but that makes me question if it is revealed that Eam is indeed the highest member of the Seraphim hierarchy, you know, Vegapunk would have had to program the Seraphim. He would have had to program Eam into being in that hierarchy, I would think. So, however however the hierarchy was created, he would have had to program Eam into that system, right? Did Vegapunk meet Eam though? Is Vegapunk aware of Eam's existence for him to have done that? We know that Vegapunk met the Gorosei, but did he also meet Eam in that meeting? Bruh,
the absolute strongest characters in the story. They are identical clones of the Shichibukai, who are already among the strongest characters in One Piece. And sure, they may not have the training of the Shichibukai or the experience, and while in the real world that would be important for clones, we have to look at what we've actually got in the One Piece world and how the cloning has been portrayed. Since it looks like however Vegapunk did the cloning process, he was clearly able to also duplicate the Shichibukai's fighting abilities in some way, such that the Seraphim are pretty much right off the bat able to emulate their originals. The Mihawk Seraphim,
I think that might have to do something to do with the bloodline element, like it, because I feel as though I've seen it in the chapter explained that way, like they was explaining the Seraphim have the same fighting styles as the Shichibukai, right? Like they can learn at the they can learn pretty much everything that the Shichibukai knows at a faster rate because of the bloodline element. You know what I mean? So I think it might be the bloodline element that is pretty much making these Seraphim fight in a similar manner to their Shichibukai, their original counterparts.
Seraphim has the single largest non-devil fruit based cutting feat in the entire story. He was able to give Blackbeard a scare, and he pushed Zoro back. Now you might say, well obviously that's not as strong as the real Mihawk. After all, Zoro made the Seraphim sweat, and Zoro still seems stronger than the Seraphim. That's true, but the key is that the Mihawk Seraphim is a child. This is its baby version. It is made explicitly clear that it is nowhere near its full potential yet.
See right here, right
don't
here.
think of it as
right here. I think this is the panel that kind of got me. If you look to the panel to the right, he said the Seraphim attack patterns evolve as they grow. Does that mean that bloodline elements record an individual's experiences? So it makes me think that like Mihawk, for example, everything that Mihawk has experienced through life is recorded in his bloodline element, right? Like his DNA remembers his experiences. So it would mean that when they put the bloodline element into the Seraphim, that the Seraphim are pretty much cheating. They're like cheating in experience. They pretty much automatically experience everything that their original counterparts have experienced. Like, or maybe not like automatically, but it's like a process to where it's like they're gaining experience they're gaining the same experience of their original counterparts through that green liquid, that bloodline element stuff, right? So it just it makes me think that S-Hawk might not even need the same experience to have the same experience as Mihawk, the same experiences. Like he don't have to actually endure these experiences in order to have the same experiences that Mihawk experienced.
Is nowhere near its full potential yet. So don't think of it as, well, Zoro is stronger than the Mihawk Seraphim, so the Mihawk Seraphim isn't a perfect copy of Mihawk's fighting abilities. Think of it as, without even being close to its full power, the child version of the Mihawk Seraphim is already cutting mountains, is already a threat to Yonko level characters, and is already able to clash with and push back one of the strongest swordsmen in the world. This is its child version. This is likely nothing compared to what it will one day be, meaning that at full potential, yes, the Seraphim will likely properly emulate the full fighting capabilities of their originals based on how good of an imitation the child form is already doing. And even if you don't want to believe that, even if you think it's impossible, if you think that no clone could ever be as good as the real deal, fine. Let's say hypothetically then that the Seraphim at their...
Nah, I agree with Morj, man. I agree with Morj. I think it's not just the fact that they're a clone. It's not just the fact that S-Hawk is a clone of Mihawk. It's also the fact that he has Lunarian biology spliced into him. We don't know what else is in the Seraphim DNA either. Like we don't know what else Vegapunk manipulated into the Seraphim DNA to make them even more like stronger, right? So if you look at S-Hawk, he's like Mihawk that became a Seraphim somehow. Like he's like Mihawk that's also a Seraphim. That counts for something. Even if let's say Mihawk is here, and S-Hawk his potential only goes to here. I would think that Lunarian biology would boost him, right? It would boost him to up to here, possibly.
Full potential are, let's say, a 90% accurate emulation of the fighting abilities of their originals. That's good enough, because emulating the fighting abilities is just one small piece of what makes the Seraphim so broken. What about the devil fruits? The original Jinbei doesn't have a devil fruit, but Seraphim Jinbei does. And in fact, the devil fruit he has
fruits as well.
is actually the perfect complement to Jinbei's fighting style. Not only that, but what about their bodies? The Seraphim have Lunarian DNA. The Lunarians are easily the most powerful race we have seen so far in One Piece. Zoro literally needed to unlock the single most powerful and rarest ability in the entire series just to be able to deal damage to a Lunarian. Flight, extreme invulnerability, crazy fire manipulation, all of this is going to be just natural built-in capabilities that every Seraphim has. Imagine the Doflamingo Seraphim at full potential. Imagine fighting Doflamingo, but with pretty much all of King's powers on top of his own. How strong would that character be?
And that's exactly what I was saying. And I didn't even touch on devil fruits. Right? And the reason why I kind of stayed away from devil fruits is because it, let's take S Snake for example. S Snake has boas, the same devil fruit as boa. So they both had the same devil fruit. So it's not like, I don't think her devil fruit is going to give her a leg up against boa. Now her Lunarian DNA is going to give her a leg up against boa, but not so much the devil fruit, right? Now with Jinbei and the S Shark devil fruit on land, S Shark is going to be at an advantage, but if there's water around, I would think Jinbei would have the advantage, and S Shark might actually be at a disadvantage unless Jinbei, because we know that, or I think it's implied that S Shark, or I'm not gonna say it's implied, but S Shark doesn't have the same devil fruit that S Shark doesn't have Senior Pink's devil fruit. Let me say it that way. He doesn't have Senior Pink's devil fruit because we know that Senior Pink is still alive and Impel down. So if he's still alive, that means he must have his devil fruit. Because if you extract the devil fruit, I'm sure that will kill you. Or if you die, then your devil fruit will go elsewhere. So we got two living people that have that same devil fruit ability. Well, one being the Seraphim. So it made me think that S Shark has like a artificial version of Senior Pink's devil fruit, right? So if that is the case, we don't know that these artificial devil fruits have the same weaknesses as normal devil fruits. So if Jinbei, let's say S Shark for example, if S Shark's ability comes from an artificial devil fruit that doesn't have the same weakness, like it doesn't have that weakness to being in water that Senior Pink's devil fruit will have, that could mean that S Shark could still fight in the water, right? So if he was to fight Jinbei in the water, Jinbei's advantage of being in water wouldn't really matter. And matter of fact, S Shark could possibly even be surpass Jinbei when it comes to Fishman karate and fighting in the water. Like he could be faster, stronger in the water than Jinbei, all these different things. So even when I gave Jinbei the advantage, it might not actually be an advantage for Jinbei, like the advantage in water. On land, though, S Shark still has that advantage because he could swim through the ground and Jinbei can't. And he could swim, he could use all his fisherman advantages on land. That is scary.
And that's not even the most important part, because the kicker on top of all this is that the Seraphims are going to be gigantic. That has been commented on multiple times by characters. How is it that the Seraphim are clearly children, but already so big? Well, because Vegapunk solved gigantification, and he gave it to his ultimate weapons. Gigantification has been built up throughout the story as practically the key to world domination. That was the specific ability that the world government wanted to create the most, and that's the same reason Big Mom wanted an army of giants so badly. In fact, the One Piece world is lucky that pretty much all the giants we've seen so far are scrubs. What happens when you have a giant that can actually fight? What happens when there is a full-strength, Lunarian giant version of Mihawk staring us down at the end game. If child version can already cut a mountain in half, what will the final version be capable of?
They can't. They gotta have some limitations as being giants, though, man. They can't just be straight up giants, man. Like they gotta be like Big Mom type giants or like Katakuri type giant. You know, Katakuri's a tall guy. Like Katakuri's a big dude, right? So I'm saying like it gotta be like that type of giant, you know, but not like hydrogen, hydrogen or whatever his name is. Not like that type of giant. That's freaking ridiculous.
When he has close to Mihawk's full sword capabilities, plus flight, invulnerability, fire, and is literally 10 times bigger than the original, with maybe some broken devil fruit thrown in as the cherry on top. And if any of you are still upset at the mere suggestion that a clone could ever be stronger than Mihawk, Doflamingo, Hancock, whoever, I think...
Take it from somebody who is a fan of Mihawk. I am not upset about this. I am not upset. Hey, you know, I get it. It makes sense. You know, it makes sense. They were told it to be the strongest beings. So for him to surpass Mihawk, I think makes sense. I think makes a lot of sense.
I think you're missing the point, because what we have to consider is, why would Oda give him such overpowered final subordinates? The same reason every other major villain has their elite subordinates. It's so that our favorite characters, the Straw Hats, get amazing fights. Think about this for a moment. One thing I've wondered about for some time is when Zoro fights Mihawk, would it be during the final war or before the final war? Honestly,
you know something? That really got me thinking. Okay. I'm kind of gonna go on a tangent a little bit. I'm gonna go on a little tangent, so y'all gotta stick with me, all right? So I've had this theory for a while that Zoro may not actually get to defeat Mihawk, right? I know it's like, what? Zoro not defeat Mihawk? Why not? Right? I've been saying for a while, I think Zoro could fight Mihawk and maybe somebody like Shiru intervenes in this fight and kills Mihawk, but like kills Mihawk while Mihawk is distracted with Zoro. Like Zoro's fighting, Shiru comes, potentially kills Mihawk, right? He robs Zoro from Zoro's ultimate dream. Zoro's dream was to become the world's strongest swordsman by beating Mihawk. That's pretty much been established since the beginning of this series, that's been Zoro's dream, right? To defeat Mihawk so he could become the strongest swordsman. If Zoro did that, or if Shiru did that, he would be robbing Zoro of his dream, right? So that will also give Zoro motivation to defeat Shiru, in which, you know, he'll defeat Shiru. But if he defeats Shiru, he never really actually... If he defeats Shiru, who pretty much did Mihawk dirty, it's not like Shiru would be the world's strongest swordsman because Shiru cheated. He cheated to kill Mihawk. He didn't defeat Mihawk. He killed him. He blindsided Mihawk and killed him, right? So then that just kind of that just leaves Zoro in the predicament where it's like, well, how do I prove that I'm the strongest swordsman? You know, I can't defeat the strongest swordsman because he was killed in a dirty way, in a dishonorable way. S-Hawk is the answer. If he could defeat somebody who is pretty much a clone of Mihawk, so should technically be equal to Mihawk or eventually equal to Mihawk, but possibly even better than Mihawk, because now you're talking about a character who has the skill of Mihawk, but he also has Lunarian DNA. He also possibly has a devil fruit, and he still has the sword skill of Mihawk, but possibly even better than Mihawk, stronger than Mihawk, because he's a Seraphim. That's how you give Zoro that closure, I guess. That's how, if Mihawk is killed in a dirty way by Shiru, that's how you give Zoro that closure of becoming the world's strongest swordsman. You know, he beat the clone of the world's strongest swordsman, who actually surpasses the world's strongest swordsman. Just saying, I think, and like knowing that now, it makes me a little more stronger in my opinion that Mihawk could potentially get killed and not by Zoro.
Before the final war makes more sense, since during the final war, the Straw Hats would be against the world government, and Mihawk would never side with the world government. So whenever Zoro's duel with Mihawk would take place, it would have to be before it's time to take down the world government and the Celestial Dragons, as Mihawk just doesn't make sense as a matchup for Zoro during that final battle. Unless of course you think they have that duel for fun during the final battle while everyone else is trying to take down the world government, in which case Zoro would be pretty much irrelevant in the final war, which I doubt would be the case. So I would say Zoro versus Mihawk probably takes place before the Straw Hats versus the world government. So in that case, who would Zoro fight against during the final war against the world government? An admiral would honestly seem like a step down from Mihawk at that point. I mean, we know Mihawk and Shanks used to go toe to toe, and the admirals are clearly not portrayed on that level. Now, maybe we
Y'all better put some respect on Mihawk name. That man he's Shanks level. Come on now, he's Shanks level. I'm gonna say that he's up there with Shanks. Shanks might have an edge on Mihawk, but he's up there with Shanks, bro. He's up there with Shanks and all the other Yonko. The man gets the same level of respect of Yonko. He doesn't have the crew. He doesn't have the territory. He doesn't have most of the stuff that Yonko have, but yet he has the same level of respect that Yonko get. That man, it's because that man is that freaking strong.
We still get to see Zoro and Sanji versus admirals at some point in the final war, but I also think it would be far more high stakes and exciting if beyond the Marines, when it's time to take down Im and the Celestial Dragons, while Luffy is going up against God, we get the Straw Hats going up against God's angels, the Seraphim. The same way the Straw Hats always fight the strongest subordinates of whatever opponent Luffy is up against.
I don't know though. I kind of disagree with that. Because I think that's what the Gorosei is for. I think the Gorosei might be the strongest subordinates for Im. At least like his final one. I think like when Luffy is fighting Im, I think the other Straw Hats might fight the Gorosei. You know, it could be like that type of situation. And unless like, because I think the Gorosei are going to be strong, so I think they're going to be fighting at the end. When Luffy is fighting Im, I think the Gorosei are going to be fighting somebody. It could be some of the other Supernova, like maybe the Supernova fight as well, like because you got the Gorosei and you got the Seraphim, and then you can have like the Straw Hats in the Supernova. So it could be something along the line where you get like Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei, Law, Kid. So okay. Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei, Law, Kid, X Drake. I'm trying to think of the Supernova that would be able to actually fight. Like X Drake, Killer, Killer, I guess Apu, Aruj. I can't remember all of them, but then you got the 5 Gorosei members, and then we seen like 5 Seraphim, S Hawk, S Bear, S Snake, S I think it was like 4 or 5 of them. I'm having brain farts right now. But yeah, so it could be like a combo of like matchups like those type of matchups.
We would get the Straw Hats versus the Seraphim. After all, Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman. After Zoro defeats him, the only way to give Zoro a stronger opponent in the final battle would be against something like a Mihawk 2.0. This would be a really interesting matchup, as at that point Zoro would have surpassed all human swordsmen, so his final matchup would have to be against the only fitting challenge left, an artificially created supreme swordsman built in a lab. And it's not just Zoro versus Mihawk 2.0, this also makes for so many other fun matches and rematches. Sanji,
I mean, we could also get Zoro versus that one Gorosei member who carries that sword around. I think it's the Gandhi looking one. Just saying.
it was once no match for Doflamingo. What if we got to see Endgame Sanji at full strength versus Doflamingo 2.0? What if we got to see Jinbei have to overcome a stronger version of himself? The matchup possibilities for the Straw Hats versus the Seraphim is insanely exciting, and it helps them fill the role that they always play when Luffy is taking on the final boss, which is taking on the strongest subordinates. It also makes the current Egghead Island conflict against a handful of the Seraphim a great teaser for this same conflict to come back around at the endgame, where both parties will be much stronger and can fight for the fate of the world. And finally, if none of that convinces you that the Seraphim will be some of the strongest characters in existence by the end of the story, then how about this? The smartest man in the entire One Piece world has said that this will be the case. It is extremely unlikely that Vegapunk is speaking in hyperbole or overestimating his success, because we know for a fact that this character, above all else, never overrates his own creations. This is the same man who considered a completely perfect recreation of Kaido's Devil Fruit to be a failure just because the color was wrong. Essentially, Vegapunk is a man who considers anything less than absolute success to be worthless. A man with the highest standards imaginable who is more critical of his own scientific successes than anyone else. So if he is saying that
that is a great freaking point though, Morj. That is a great point. You know, like he doesn't exaggerate. If anything, he kind of undersells stuff. Like to say that Momonosuke's Devil Fruit was a failure because of the color, but yet it was pretty much a success. That does showcase that he does not exaggerate. You know what I mean? Good point.
The Seraphim are the real deal, a perfect product, then they are the real deal. There is a reason that we have had 400 chapters of build-up to the Seraphim, as they are the pinnacle of scientific creation in the One Piece world, designed to be the ultimate beings who are specifically programmed to serve the Celestial Dragons, as the Angels of Im, the final forces of God. Don't let their showings right now fool you. We haven't even begun to scratch.
Bruh, their showings have... if you could look at their showings and say they're not impressive, or that I don't know what to say to you, bro. Like I can't even argue with you because you blind for that. Like if you don't think that these Seraphim are impressive, bro, they're still just kids. Like how much have we been shown? Like, hey, you know, they're not even at their best yet, but yet they're like having Blackbeard sweat a little bit. They're, you know, like, yes, S-Hawk is not as strong as Zoro, but it ain't like for him to be able to clash with Zoro no matter he did, you know, I don't think many people are going to be clashing with Zoro like he did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not much happened, but I'm just saying, like, come on now. Like, the fact that they're not even at their strongest, they're pretty much at their base, at their weakest, but they're doing what they're doing. If you some people must be underestimating these guys.
Scratch the surface of what their full potential will look like. So let me know what you think of the Seraphim's endgame matchups in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe. And you can get my extended thoughts on this and all future topics by becoming a member. Link in the description below.
Alright, shout out to Mr. Morj. Shout out to Mr. Morj. I'm gonna make sure, like, y'all go make sure y'all show Morj some love. Yeah, I agree. I agree with his statement. I definitely think the Seraphim are going to be stronger than their original counterparts. You know, Vegapunk said they're going to be the strongest beings in the world. Now I don't know if they're going to be the strongest or just among the strongest, right? Like if you could take any of the Seraphim and put them against like Kaido or Shanks and they're going to win, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be the strongest, but they're going to be up there. I do believe that, and I do think they may definitely surpass their original counterparts because, bro, it's like let's take S Hulk for example. The man is Mihawk. He's a Mihawk clone, so he's going to be somewhere in the he's going to potentially be as strong as Mihawk just from the genes alone. The genes alone. He if you take away his Lunarian biology and everything and possible devil fruit and you just take the Mihawk clone part of him, he would probably be as strong as Mihawk. If not, like maybe you could say he'll have like 90% of Mihawk's overall power, overall strength, right? Now you throw in the Lunarian biology part, the Lunarian DNA. Throw that in there. S-Hawk, Mihawk. S-Hawk without all the Lunarian and Devil Fruit stuff, Mihawk. You know, and S-Hawk's full potential. Let's also say that. Lunarian DNA, potential Devil Fruit, potential hockey. I'm just saying. Bro, I am a Mihawk mark. For me to say this, you know what I'm saying? I'm serious. You know, like, I gotta be serious for this, man. Like, I'm a Mihawk mark, but yet I believe that S-Hawk in the series will potentially be stronger by a good margin. You know, by a margin, by a significant margin. Let's say that. You know, be it if it's just this much. You know, S-Hawk is going to be stronger than Mihawk, and I think for sure the other ones are going to be stronger as well. If there's a Gecko Moria, I'm sure he's going to be stronger than the original Gecko Moria. You know, Boa as Snake, possibly the Dolphy Seraphim. I think it's looking more like that. So yeah, I agree with Mr. Morj on this one. But yeah, that is pretty much the video. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. Also comment down below. Make sure you guys let me know your opinions on these Seraphim and how they stack up to their original counterparts. Will they be stronger? Will S-Hawk be stronger than Mihawk? Will S-Snake be stronger than Boa? Will S-Bear be stronger than Kuma? Y'all let me know down in the comments if you agree or do you disagree with me. Also, follow me on Twitch so you can catch me live and you can engage with me in real time. If you wanna engage with me directly, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and join the Discord. The Discord is going to be the best place to engage with me because that's where I'm usually the most active. And if you want to send me content like the video we watched today, I have a channel in the Discord specifically designated for you guys to send me stuff. So make sure you are part of the Discord. And if you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you are a member of the Discord. The link to this video that we watched today will be in the description box below. So make sure you guys hit that description box and, you know, you see all my social medias and everything. Yeah, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Peace.